What's up, and welcome to another Path Minutes episode. I'm excited for today. We have a powerful message, a simple message, but it's powerful. And we're going to break it down, and you're going to understand what it's all about. And if you use this, you can start breaking down some barriers and start doing some shit. And the entire message today is creating your own inspiration and your own motivation. Most of us think, and it goes to when you listen to podcasts, when you read books, when you are not on TV, but when you're watching TV and you hear the stories of people who have accomplished tremendous things in their life. We hear about these crazy backstories, these insane life moments that, oh my gosh, it hit them. They're crazy inspired, which motivates the hell out of them. And then it causes them to take massive action. And they start accomplishing things. And don't get me wrong, huge life moments, whether good or a lot of times bad, we hear all the time about people experiencing loss or some devastation in their life and how that inspires them and motivates them. But that does not have to be the case. It's just that's what we hear more often than not when we hear of stories of people. Think of any type of reality show that involves singing or if you can dance, shows like that. Every single person has some ridiculous backstory, right? I'm not a huge watcher of those types of programs, but everyone's watched them and seen them. And I think to myself every time, has anyone ever gone on there that hasn't had some crazy background or life story? And obviously when it comes to those type of shows, that's what they're looking for. That's what draws in audiences. But the typical way of thinking of the chain of inspiration is it starts with some big life moment that inspires you. In turn, that motivates you, and then that leads to action. But that does not have to be the case. You can inspire yourself and motivate yourself without something insane happening in your life. That's why I always say at the end, don't wait, take action. That's why I ask my guests all the time in some way, how can you start taking action today? Because here's the thing. In that chain, that inspiration, motivation, and then you take action, flip that around. It goes in a loop. If you take action, all of a sudden you get inspired and that motivates you, which leads to more action. So what does that mean? How many times when it comes to working out have you thought, fuck, I do not feel like doing this today? And if you go to a gym or you go running, whatever that may be, all of a sudden you go to the gym, you start doing your first reps of whatever you're lifting, or you go running and you get that first fourth of a mile in. All of a sudden, more often than not, you're starting to kind of feel it, feeling good about it. You're getting into it. Next thing you know, you're in the zone and you're ready to kill it and crush it. That happens all the time. I recently read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which I highly, highly recommend. It's a very easy read, quick read, but it's loaded with awesome information. And he covers, the author, Mark, the do something principle. And that's basically what I've been explaining. But when I read that, I thought to myself, wow, that is something that I have talked about and something I think about. And he articulated it in a really well-structured way. And it doesn't only work for exercising, anything. Think of something you don't want to do at all. Go back to college when you had to write a paper and you put it off. There's nothing worse than having to write a paper in college for a subject that does not mean shit to you. But then all of a sudden you get in that mode, right? You start typing. And next thing you know, you start getting a flow going. And then you accomplish a great deal with that paper. Because once you just finally get yourself to take action and do it, you start seeing results, which inspires you, motivates you, leads to more action. It's that loop. So when you're facing a problem or you want to reach a goal or you have some challenge you want to accomplish, and it's extremely overwhelming at first, just do something. Even if it's the smallest of tasks. Don't overthink it. Just go and start it. And I promise you that will lead to something. That's my morning routine. If you've listened to my 5-part series, I go into each night, I write down what I need to do for the next day. And I have my number one task, and I go after something hard and big. But what I do is I have 3 exact things or tasks that go under that number one priority for the day. So I wake up and have a very specific thing that I want to accomplish or priority, but I don't get overwhelmed because I already have 3 action steps to take. And those aren't some super hard thing. It's not some crazy equation. And guess what that allows me to do? I get into it, start accomplishing those very specific tasks under the number one priority. And in turn, that gets me in that action mind frame, which inspires and motivates me. And guess what? When you get that number one priority done at the beginning of your day, you will be so goddamn productive. It's insane. Because that's how you start your day. You start your day in that action mind frame. Think of the difference in when you wake up, go on your email, go on social media, and you know you got something you need to do or something you need to accomplish, but you keep putting it off. And then the next thing you know, the whole day goes by and you don't do it. And days turn into weeks. That happens. Just do something, the do something principle. Motivate yourself. Create your own inspiration. And all it takes is just taking action and going after it and not thinking, not overthinking it. Just do something and it will turn into more than you realize. When you have that big thing, for me, I used to be a great information gatherer when I'd think about businesses that I wanted to start. And I would always do my research. I'd be a great research guy. I'd even start writing some stuff. But I never truly committed until the podcast and starting my online business. I defaulted into research mode right away. But also researching what you're going to get into is obviously a very important aspect to what you do. But at some point, you just have to take that first leap, take that leap of faith and do something to actually commit to it. What I did is I figured out the equipment I needed to produce the podcast and I bought it. And it wasn't a very cheap buy. It wasn't crazy expensive. But that amount of money flipped my brain and said, okay, you're doing this for real. You took action towards it. And then that motivated me to hire a podcast coach. And once I had the coach, there's no turning back. I fully committed. I'm in pure action state. Once I had the coach, then I start telling people, hold myself accountable even more. And the next thing I know, the scariest thing was reaching out for interviews. And it started with people I knew, and I'd reach out telling them exactly what I was doing. And do you know anybody that would be a good fit for the podcast? And I'll tell you, if you're trying to get a new job, new career, get in touch with people, use your hot market, as I call it. Use the people you know, your family, your friends, people you used to work with. It's amazing how people know someone. And if you're doing something worthwhile, you will get connected. But that's another subject for another day. But you see what I'm getting at? I just did something and that inspired and motivated me. Is the simplest thing. All I did was buy the equipment. And that is what spiraled this into what it is today. And if I would have thought, okay, I wanted to start this podcast and do all these different things and start a coaching business, that would be crazy. I would be so overwhelmed by it, but just do it. Just do something. Create your own motivation by taking action, no matter how small. And I promise you, it will lead to more. You will get in that zone, motivate yourself, and keep taking action. And that will conclude today's Path Minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with me, if you have anything you want to say, please contact me at sean@ubpath.com. And I will see you next week for another great interview as well as Path Minutes. And if you have any free time, just a second, I would love it if you could leave a 5-star rating in iTunes. Just hit the 5-star button. You don't even have to leave any written review. But if you have 30 seconds, say, a written review would be awesome too. And it just goes a long way. But I won't bug you anymore. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and I will see you next time here on the